We need to make sure that our students are successful. Education will open doors, and education makes everyone equal. Education is the great equalizer. I'm always saying that I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have a tremendous staff like I have at Weslaco ISD.
Dr. Richard Rivera brought stability and respect to Weslaco ISD as a teacher, coach, principal, superintendent, and finally, as a school board member, impacting thousands upon thousands of students and staff.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera, for everything you have done for us.
In Weslaco.
Actually, I really appreciate it, and you are my role model.
He is set to retire after an unprecedented 53-year career. His legacy? Leading Weslaco ISD to high academic standards, competitive salaries for staff and facilities to make all students and community proud.
In this puzzle, every part needs to fit.
He did this using determination, focus, and most of all, his competitiveness.
Every single person in the organization is extremely important.
Oh, he was highly competitive. He always said, no district is going to be better than Weslaco.
He grew up one of 8 children in this Mercedes home. Rivera was only 10 when his father passed away. He had to grow up fast and took the ropes in becoming a trailblazer for the rest of his siblings. Growing up, Dr. Rivera developed into the fierce competitor and the successful leader that we know him as today.
So if I were to beat him at a game of, say, baseball or basketball, he would insist that we keep playing until he won. Times we came to blows. By the way, he would win when it came to blows. I was a poor loser. I'll say it, a poor loser. I didn't like to lose, so I liked to win.
His mother, Consuelo Villarreal Rivera, was stern and strict, but more importantly, she valued the importance of a quality education. Rather than going up north to work as migrants, the Rivera family stayed in the valley so they can continue and finish school.
So she's the one that stressed for us to stay here, and we found jobs. We were survivors. She was ahead of her times.
Through his years at WISD, a common phrase heard often was,
Education is the great equalizer.
Dr. Rivera's humble beginnings is where it all came to light.
We were poor growing up, and my mother stressed education. Education was what allowed me to get to where I am today.
Dr. Rivera went on to have a strong academic and athletic career at Mercedes High School. He was captain of the Tigers state-ranked football squad and was anchor of the mile relay team. Speed was Rivera's biggest weapon. One former WISD administrator shared an experience during a luncheon reminiscing about a time he went up against Rivera on the gridiron.
First play, they gave him the ball. And he ran right through us. He was just running through us, around us. And we were able to stop him, but he would always gain those 7, 8, 10 yards on us because he was so fast at that time. So,
After completing his bachelor's degree in Pan American College, Dr. Rivera was hired at Weslaco ISD in 1967 as a teacher coach, thus beginning an illustrious career with the district.
I taught Texas history, and then I coached athletics, football, basketball, track, and even softball.
He was a natural leader, becoming a principal at Mary Hogue Junior High in 1974, and 5 years later was named principal at Weslaco High School. He calls that experience his most enjoyable as an educator and a post he kept for 17 years.
Ones that went to high school can remember that myself and the staff around me were very visible all the time. We're out there in the hallways when the bell rang and always talking to students. We wanted them to feel comfortable with us.
Generations and faces came and went through the time. Rivera was a dedicated principal, but despite his busy schedule, always made time for boys and girls of Weslaco High School.
Let me tell him about my home environment, how I grew up, and in the end, he was just, at that point in time, he just became like a father figure, man. A father figure, a counselor, all wrapped in one. And I'll never forget that. Because of him, as soon as I graduated from high school, I made sure that I made education a great equalizer.
After 30 successful years at WISD, Dr. Rivera's impact was only getting started. In 1996, he was named Superintendent of Schools.
The Wesco Independent School District hire Mr. Ricky Rivera as permanent superintendent.
Through his leadership, big changes came to benefit all students.
Motion passes.
All of his actions were always for the boys and girls of Wesco because he believed that education is the great equalizer. And if we provided our students a great education, they could go on and do anything they wanted to do.
That meant providing students with the best facilities, the best tools, and the best teachers anyone can find, doing whatever it takes to bring the best to Wesco ISD.
He always would ask his teachers, he would ask his principals, what do you need to be successful? What do you need so our district can really be stellar?
He worked endless hours to come up with a plan for improvements and made sure to connect all the dots in every decision.
He wasn't afraid of hiring good leaders to surround himself with. So his team, his leadership team here, put a lot of the things in place that we still have in place, which is what has helped make Wesco shine in the region.
As we turned into the 21st century, new schools were built, including a second high school we know today as Wesco East. Some of the old campuses like Central and Cuellar Middle Schools underwent complete overhauls. The Performing Arts Center was completely renovated with new equipment second to none, while the K Complex opened many doors for students thanks to hands-on training in various programs. Dr. Rivera made sure every student was in a new school or significantly upgraded campus.
He wanted the best because he wanted to be the best, and he was always offering, making sure that our district was equipped to attract the best.
As a former athlete, Dr. Rivera also looked out for sports programs. In 2005, a new Jumbotron scoreboard was installed at Bobby Lackey Stadium, while 2 years later, the field went from grass to turf. In 2009 and 2010, the facility went through a stadium expansion, which included more seats and a new press box. The changes and enhancements have created a venue in which today is often used in numerous events outside of football, bringing in revenue to the district and the city of Wesco.
Always said, I want the best buildings for all of our students. I want the best football stadium or football field or band hall. He always promoted every single student.
With Dr. Rivera's vision and leadership, Wesco ISD was one of the first to offer a state-of-the-art aquatic center for our swimming teams, which has hosted numerous events, including the district meet.
The idea of these buildings coming to fruition, he had just everything to do with it, everything. And it just goes back to Dr. Rivera always felt that our kids deserved the very best.
I called him the ultimate warrior because he was always there for everyone, not just one person.
With all the tools in place came expectations. That means for all teachers, staff, and extracurricular programs to perform at a high level.
He was cracking a whip. He wasn't cracking a whip to be, in control of anything. He wanted things to be good. He wanted things to be just right.
As a result, Wesco ISD saw a growth in student population, an improvement in test scores, and WISD became a public school power across the state of Texas. In fact, under Rivera, WISD earned Recognized School District by the TEA, a distinction which includes a stretch of 7 straight years and 12 out of 14.
It means a lot. It means that we were successful, but the most important thing is that we challenged boys and girls. And my challenge was for every single boy and girl to be successful.
Dr. Rivera took pride in finding the most creative and inspirational teachers. And in doing that, he always offered competitive salaries which were among the best in the Rio Grande Valley.
If I'm going to demand something from them, ask them to do something, I wanted to make sure that they were well compensated.
Eventually, our reputation started picking up momentum that our district was the place to be because we were leading the way People called us from different districts. I know they called my office. Hey, how did y'all do that? How can we see how y'all did that? And so we definitely led the way, and we were the district to emulate.
Dr. Rivera would go on to receive a long list of prestigious awards across the region and state. All his recognition is well-deserved, but for him, it's the boys and girls that fueled him to go the extra mile.
He loved walking the hallways of our schools, and the sounds of the children, during lunchtime or during class time. He loved that. He loved visiting the children. And so the students, he would tell us that the students gave him the strength to carry on with his big, massive responsibility.
Through his demands and expectations, Dr. Rivera also carried a heart of gold.
Back in 2007 or 8, he provided each principal for additional monies for Christmas gifts for all students in the district, because he said, I grew up poor, I never had gifts and so forth, but he took the time to allow that additional money for every school here in Wesco ISD.
Dr. Rivera's inspiration went beyond our school district. Through his intense and demanding schedule, Dr. Rivera pursued and eventually earned his doctorate degree from UTPA.
I remember him telling me, it's hard for me to tell my students to do this or that if I don't do it myself. He wanted to be that role model, not only to his staff, but also to the students that were under his supervision.
Wesco ISD is about to celebrate 100 years of existence. Our district has been fortunate to have excellent teachers and administrators. But there will never be another Richard Rivera, a man on a mission with a burning desire to be the best and do what's best for all boys and girls.
Education is the great equalizer. And it doesn't matter if you're rich, it doesn't matter if you're poor, it doesn't matter what your last name is. Education will open doors for all of you.
I, of course, don't know anyone who's had that many years in education. Almost every single one of them dedicated to Wesco ISD in some role. So he truly has been an advocate for Wesco and for our students.
I still have a little orange in me from Mercedes, but now I'm a Panther and a Wildcat. Forever. Forever.
I'm Mike Gonzalez for KWES TV.